Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we cut through the headlines to unpack the real stories shaping our world. Today we're zooming in on a diplomatic powder keg that's just exploded in East Asia, one that's sending ripples from Tokyo to Taipei and all the way to Hong Kong. Picture this. Japan's new prime minister drops a bombshell about defending Taiwan. China hits back with threats that sound straight out of a thriller novel. Hong Kong suddenly warns its people to steer clear of Japan, and Taiwan steps up to call the whole mess a complex threat to peace. It's not just news, it's a snapshot of how fragile the balance in the Indo-Pacific really is. Let's walk through this step by step like we're piecing together a high-stakes puzzle and see what it all means for the region and beyond. To set the stage, we have to rewind just a bit to last week. Sanae Takaichi, Japan's freshly minted prime minister, is sitting in a parliamentary committee and she doesn't mince words. She says outright that if China launches a military attack on Taiwan, it wouldn't just be Taiwan's fight, it could be an existential crisis for Japan itself. We're talking battleships in the Strait, missiles flying, and a direct threat to Japan's survival. Takaichi argues this scenario might even trigger Japan's right to collective self-defense, meaning Japanese forces could jump in to back up their ally. Now, for those who follow this beat, this isn't entirely new. Japan's been inching closer to Taiwan over the years, sharing tech, doing joint drills, all while Beijing growls from across the sea. But hearing it from the top, so bluntly, it's like pouring gasoline on an already smoldering fire. Takaichi's no stranger to controversy. She's a hawk on security issues, and her words land like a gauntlet thrown down right at China's feet. China's response? Swift, sharp, and unapologetically aggressive. Within days, Beijing's ambassador in Tokyo, Shui Jian, goes on a tirade warning that any Japanese meddling in a Taiwan conflict would lead to a crushing defeat for Japan. He doesn't stop there. He evokes memories of World War II, hinting at historical grudges and even something darker, like threats that had people raising eyebrows about beheading rhetoric. It's classic wolf warrior diplomacy, the kind China perfected under Xi Jinping, where diplomats don't just defend, they attack. But they didn't stop at words. Almost immediately, China's foreign ministry issues a travel advisory telling its citizens to avoid trips to Japan for the foreseeable future. The official line? It's about safety, citing a supposed spike in anti-Chinese incidents in Japan from verbal harassment to physical assaults. But let's be real, the timing is no coincidence. This comes right after Takaichi's remarks, and it's layered with economic undertones. Airlines like Air China and Eastern China start offering free cancellations on Japan routes. And suddenly tourism, a massive artery between these two economic giants, starts to clog up. Japan, for its part, protests loudly, calling it an overreaction and a politicized move that's hurting ordinary people on both sides. And that's where Hong Kong enters the picture, adding another layer to this onion of tension. Just yesterday, as the dust was still settling from Beijing's alert, Hong Kong's government drops its own cautionary note. They're urging residents planning trips to Japan or already there to stay vigilant, keep a low profile, and report any incidents of discrimination or violence. Hong Kong frames it as a practical advisory, pointing to the same uptick in anti-Chinese incidents that Beijing mentioned, things like graffiti on consulates or scuffles at tourist spots. But again, context matters. Hong Kong, under the national security law and increasingly aligned with mainland policies, isn't issuing this in a vacuum. It's like an echo of China's warning, amplifying the message that Japan might not be the safe haven it once was for Chinese travelers. Remember, pre-pandemic, millions from Hong Kong and the mainland flocked to Japan every year for cherry blossoms, hot springs, and shopping sprees. Now, with flights getting canceled and advisories piling up, it's not just about safety. It's a subtle squeeze on people-to-people ties, the kind that can fray alliances without firing a shot. For everyday folks in Hong Kong who already navigate a world of political tightropes, this feels like one more reminder that global travel isn't as carefree as it used to be. But the real gut punch comes from Taiwan, who isn't just watching from the sidelines, they're calling out the playbook. Taiwan's foreign ministry spokesperson steps up and labels China's entire response a politically motivated, multifaceted threat. That's the phrase that's sticking. Multifaceted, or what some are translating as complex threat. It's not hyperbole. They're pointing to the whole arsenal Beijing's deploying here. Diplomatic barbs, travel curbs that double as economic levers, military posturing with those endless drills around the island, and even cyber whispers in the background. Taiwan sees this as a grave danger, not just to Japan, but to the stability of the entire Indo-Pacific. And they're right to worry. Taiwan's economy is intertwined with both giants. Semiconductors from TSMC power everything from iPhones to fighter jets. And any disruption in the strait could tank global supply chains. More than that, though, it's about the precedent. If China can bully Japan, a U.S. treaty ally with one of the world's top militaries, into backing down over words alone, what does that say to smaller players like the Philippines or Vietnam in the South China Sea? Taiwan's critique isn't just offensive, it's a rallying cry, urging the world to see these moves for what they are, a pattern of coercion that's testing the rules-based order. So, zooming out, what's the bigger picture here? This isn't an isolated spat. It's a thread in a much larger tapestry of rivalry. Japan's got its new security framework, beefing up defenses and cozying up to the Quad with the US, India, and Australia. China's pushing its 9-line claims harder than ever, with carrier groups steaming where they please. And Taiwan, they're holding elections that defy Beijing's red lines, electing leaders who lean west. Throw in the election aftermath, Trump's back, talking tariffs and tough love on China, and you've got a cocktail that's equal parts volatile and unpredictable. Economically, sure, tourism takes a hit, but dig deeper. Japanese firms in China might face informal pressures, supply chains reroute, and investor confidence wobbles. Strategically, it's a reminder that the Taiwan Strait isn't some distant flashpoint, it's the choke point for half the world's shipping lanes. One wrong move, and we're not talking advisories, we're talking blockades. Yet, amidst the bluster, there's room for de-escalation if cooler heads prevail. Japan's already dialing back, with officials clarifying that Takaichi's words were hypothetical, not a declaration of war. China could ease the travel curbs as a goodwill gesture, reminding everyone that mutual dependence on tech, on markets, outweighs the grudges. Hong Kong, caught in the middle, might use its advisory to quietly promote dialogue rather than division. And Taiwan's voice, as sharp as it is, could bridge to allies, pushing for multilateral talks instead of unilateral flexing. But will they? History says these flare-ups cool as quickly as they ignite, but each one leaves scars, eroding trust a little more. As we wrap this up, I can't help but think about the human side, the traveler in Tokyo who suddenly eyed with suspicion, the family in Taiwan wondering if the next drill is the last warning, the policymaker in Hong Kong balancing loyalties. This complex threat isn't abstract. It's the shadow over everyday lives. If you're traveling soon or just following the news, stay informed, stay safe, and let's hope diplomacy wins out over drama. What do you think? Escalation or off-ramp ahead? Drop your takes in the comments, smash that like if this breakdown helped, and subscribe for more on the stories that matter. Until next time, keep questioning, keep connecting. Peace.